Hello everybody, my name is Lynn Ismail and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a simpler method to do soil blocking. I really like soil blocking because it produces healthy roots. When the roots hit the edge of the soil block, it is air pruned. And when it gets air pruned, it produces more roots from the base. And the more roots you have, the easier for the seedlings to establish itself in its place. Therefore, you get a healthier plant. Using soil blocks means that you don't have to use any plastic containers. And when you're using the tiny 3/4 small blocks, you're using less soil. Therefore, it is cheaper. Even with these advantages of using soil blocks, there are reasons why people get discouraged to trying soil blocks. First one would be finding the right soil recipe and using the right technique to produce these soil blocks. And even when they figure out the soil recipe and the right technique, the watering schedule when using soil blocks for growing seedlings can be tricky as well. With regards to soil recipe, I keep it simple. It's 1 part ProMix organic mixture with 1 part of compost. This one is from Gulf Green, compost with worm casting. Mix it together, sifting through these large holes here. Because when you're using soil blocks, you don't want those big chunks of wood or perlite to get stuck in those soil blocks. Once I'm done sifting those, I'll go through another sifter again, just to make it even finer. The finer the soil mix, the more compact they can be in the soil blocks, and so the soil block will stay in shape. The ones that I've sifted out, I can use it for potting mix for my houseplants, so I usually set them aside. And then once that's done, you'll end up with really nice fine soil that you can use for your soil mix. So this is the mini soil block. It can contain 20 soil blocks that are about 3/4 inch tall and wide. Traditionally, when you're making soil blocks, you want the soil to be a little bit on the wet side. This is the traditional method that we all learned. But when you're first starting, it's pretty much a learning curve. You can't read in the book how wet is wet. You just have to do it and try it out yourself. So at this point of the consistency, I'm almost there. So I just put a little spritz. And what you want is you want it just a tiny bit wet, but not too wet. That's why it is a little bit of a learning curve trying to create a soil block. So that's a traditional method. You get it to that kind of consistency, make a mound, and then you press the soil block down just to pack the soil into those holes. Now, depending on the height of your table or your height, at this point, I can feel the tension in my shoulder. And because you want to pack that soil in, you're pressing hard against the container there. And what that does as well is it flattens the top of the soil block. So you see when I squeeze, there's still a little bit of water there. You get the water, you get the soil wet, and then when you put this soil in a container, you want to squeeze them out. So I'm just gonna do that again. You see the little bit of moisture being squeezed out of the soil block. That's what you want. So there you go. That's how you do the soil block there. Now when you're ready to transfer, just put it on the tray and just squeeze it out. Now I like to put my soil blocks on top of a wicking mat just because it helps me um, make sure that the soil is not too dry and not too moist. And I find that this works for me. So that had been how I had been doing my soil blocks. But it wasn't until I had the mini Swift Blocker 75 that I did a different technique. I, instead of mounding the soil and trying to ram the soil block into that mound of soil, I just packed the soil into the little holes of the soil blocker. With this technique, you kind of use the same consistency as Laura from Garden Answer, where you get a little ball of soil and just put it in the container, but in this case, into the soil block, and then just press it down manually so you squeeze out the moisture, the water from the soil. So I figured if this works for the Swift Blocker 75, Mini 75, it should probably work on the Mini Block 3/4 soil block. It's easier to get the soil consistency that you want, and the technique is not that complicated. So let me walk you through this easier method of soil blocking. So you get your soil mix and you add water to it. Add just a tiny bit first and see how you do. But what you really just want is to be for the soil to be wet enough that you can form it into a ball. So at this point, I'm just squeezing, see if I'm the right consistency, and it's still a little bit on the drier side because the it's still falling apart when I squeeze them to form into a ball. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some more water right here, right about here. There you go. Now I'm testing it again, and that's more of what I'm looking for. So now I get my mini soil blocker, make a ball, and pack it in to the holes there. Make a ball and pack it in there. Sorry, I haven't, I'm not putting the soil blocker in the frame there, but you get the idea. And what I'm doing now is pressing on the individual holes to make sure that I'm squeezing the excess moisture out, and also it makes sure that I'm packing as much soil as I can into that soil block holes. Then I get this tool. I don't know what it's called. I just found it at my husband's toolbox, and just press it against the soil blocker and then scrape it flat. Press it down again just to make sure that it's at the most compact as I can get it. And it looks like this point, I'm pretty much there. So I'm gonna use my scraper again to smooth the excess out and to make it all flat. So this one is ready to be transferred to the tray. I think this technique is easier because you're pretty much just packing soil and there's no special skill involved. So now when you put it side by side with the other soil block that has the traditional method, it looks pretty much the same, as you can see here. So if you're having trouble trying to make soil blocks using the traditional method, try this method and maybe it'll work better for you. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel yet, please do, as it helps other people who might be interested in my content find my channel. Try to show up here every Thursday. And so until I see you again next time, bye for now.